So I've spoken before about the transitional diaconate and about how I think that perhaps we need to rethink that. But let's take my scenario about the first 2 years of being traditional coursework in seminary and that third year as an apprenticeship curacy. Well, if we took that model seriously, and let's say we're retaining the transitional diaconate, why not ordain someone to the diaconate at the end of the second year of seminary? I mean, the discernment process has already taken place. The trap door is not going to fall out from under a person now that they've gone through their discernment committee, have been admitted to postulancy, and have done their work with the Commission on Ministry and the Standing Committee, and have 2 years of seminary under their belt. Well, at the end of the second year, ordain them to the diaconate, and then send them out into this apprenticeship, this curacy in the parish. And so at the end of that year, that diaconal year, then once they have completed their third year of seminary, they would immediately be ordained to the priesthood. I think that could have some real sense about it, and could allow the seminarian to function fully as a deacon during that third year in a way that could be quite fruitful. That doesn't mean I would do away with the general ordination examinations, but I think we would have to rethink the general ordination examinations as well. In terms of organization, I find myself really perplexed by the current nature of the general ordination examinations. Once again, they reflect a kind of professionalism and a kind of academic ethos that I think is inappropriate for the relationship of the church to the seminary. The general ordination examinations look to me very much like my doctoral qualifying examinations, where you study, and you take a whole week of 5 8-hour days taking an examination and trying to get everything you've learned in the course of 3 years down on paper. I mean, it's an amazing sort of synthetic enterprise, but what does it really have to do with the life of the church? So I think we could rethink the nature of the general ordination examinations, and the questions could be shaped by the church's needs, but they could also be shaped by how seminary education might challenge congregations prophetically to think about their identity and about thinking how to live their life more faithfully and growing into the call of the gospel. I see all sorts of reformation around the general ordination examinations that could arise out of rethinking seminary education and this possibility for a revivified apprenticeship or curacy in the church. I have been very intrigued by an experiment that's going on now at Virginia Theological Seminary that's being funded by the Lilly Endowment. The Lilly Endowment in Indiana, Lilly, you know, created the drug Prozac, so better living through chemicals. Lilly has given a lot of money to the Episcopal Church and to Episcopal seminaries to rethink seminary education, to rethink the seminarian experience. And the program that they're funding now at Virginia is called the Second 3 Years, and it's really trying to think with recent graduates about how those first 3 years of full-time ministry in a parish can be shaped intentionally in dialogue, in additional contact with the seminary from which they are graduating, from which they have graduated. I think that's a really interesting idea, and what it does is it creates a connection between the seminary and the parishes, just as I've been talking about, but it also lays the groundwork for thinking about continuing education and also working against clergy burnout at the beginning of a career rather than trying to fix something at the end of the career. And I think for people who are coming into ministry as a second vocation, as a second career, that could be enormously valuable. I'm going to put that link into this part of the syllabus so that you can check it out. The second 3-year program at Virginia Theological Seminary. And related to that then, I think as we think about the relationship between seminaries and congregations, between seminaries and the larger church, as we think about reorganizing the General Convention and our national life, that we need to think seriously about continuing education for clergy and how we can expect that of our clergy and make it possible for our clergy. And if our clergy are going to be involved in these apprentice relationships, if they're going to be working with curates who have these ongoing ties to seminaries, then we need to find a way for our clergy to be invested in continuing education, and we have to provide a way for parishes and for dioceses to fund that continuing education, to say in a way that is clear and required for clergy that it's something valuable and we're willing to support it. And if we are willing to support continuing education for clergy, I think we also ought to be willing to support opportunities of theological education, seminary education, making use of these new pedagogies, hybrid and online as well as residential, for lay people. It simply seems to me that lay people ought to have access to theological education as well. As a layperson, I can't extol highly enough the value of seminary education for my own thinking about my vocation as a layperson. The opportunity of going to seminary for 3 years, even though it did aid me in my career in a Department of Religious Studies, but just the seminary experience, the theological piece of that experience for me as a layperson was a rich opportunity that I wish everyone could have. It was immensely valuable and remains an important and guiding part of who I am as a layman, and I want to see that opportunity available to as many people as wish to take advantage of it. And so that in doing that, once again, we see this greater dialogue between parishes and dioceses and seminaries, and we also see them as mutually supporting of each other, not only by the people we send there and the people who are trained there, who enrich the lives of dioceses and parishes, but that it becomes a way for providing the kinds of financial support for these institutions that will sustain them and allow them to think creatively about how they might aid the mission of the Church in the 21st century and beyond.